what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy it. What I did find to be a bit more interesting is ESPN did their future power rankings, looking at offenses, right? What offenses are going to be the best in the next 3 seasons, 23, 24, and 25. And LSU actually scored way higher than you ever would have thought just 5 years ago. LSU coming in at number 11 on this list. Where it maybe gets a little interesting, Jake, is even though they're number 11, there are 5 SEC teams ranked ahead of them. Just shows you how good this conference is.
It does, and it's, I don't want to say troublesome because you're still sitting there at number 11, but it's like, oh, oof. You got 5 SEC teams that are ahead of you. Some, like, okay, if it was just, let's say, Georgia and Alabama, it's like, okay, well, that tracks and what they do in recruiting and what they've done over the last couple of years. But coming in at number 6, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay, do you really want another SEC team when you're about to get rid of divisions getting hot? Number 7, Oklahoma. And we could debate these. Certainly number 7, Oklahoma, we could debate these. A lot of it comes with them signing a big-time quarterback.
Oklahoma's the one where it's like they probably should be, but again, we're not very high here in Oklahoma on OTB. They're going to have to prove it to us.
And then number 9, another team that we're not high on, Texas.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's coming from Arch Manning being the future quarterback there at Texas. And so you have to find LSU at number 11.
Texas offense sucked last year. I don't get it. Texas just had their first offensive player drafted in the first round since Vince Young.
Really?
Yes. Isn't that insane?
That's crazy.
That's probably the wildest stat I've heard all year.
There's no way.
Yeah. No, that is a true fact, which sounds, yes, your reaction is the correct one, Mario, when you hear that for the first time.
But LSU did go from 16 a year ago in these same rankings to 11.
Yeah.
So there has been some growth, and next year they could be higher on this list. But Texas and Oklahoma coming into the conference, it's going to change a couple of dynamics. Like, you're going to obviously have a new schedule. You're going to have a new way of doing things, and that's going to be the biggest question mark next week whenever I go down to Destin for the SEC spring meetings.
Yeah.
There's some people that still think you're going to play 8 SEC games, which I just don't know how you can make that work and make the schedule look like it's supposed to look.
If
the SEC scheduling needs help.
If they play if they actually choose 8 SEC games, that is a massive win for political BS, because there is no objective reason why you should not be playing 9 games. It literally behooves no one, save for schools that are afraid to compete and just want wins on their schedule. It's not good for the TV partners. It's not good for the fans. It's not even good for the athletes not being challenged. It's not good for keeping traditional rivalries alive. When you look at, if you play 8, you're not going to be able to keep 3 common opponents. Like, it's just garbage all the way around. So, yeah, miss me with that. I guess I've already accepted in my head that it's so obvious that, of course, they're going to play 9, but if they ended up playing 8, like, we're rioting, because that's pathetic, and that's just bad leadership all the way around. But I think Greg Sankey gets that. And Greg Sankey, let's be painfully clear, Greg Sankey gets what Greg Sankey wants. Like, in the world of college football, who is more powerful than Greg Sankey? Even Nick and Kirby now are being rivaled by Sankey, if not arguably surpassed. So, like, he gonna get his 9 games.
Yeah, and if you have 16 teams, you can't play 8 games. Schedule imbalance in the SEC, in my opinion, is the only thing the SEC gets wrong in football. They get everything else right, and that's why you see the national champ come from the SEC more times than you don't.
Yeah.
You got to go to 9. If you have 9, it makes sense. You have 3 permanent opponents, and then you rotate the other 6.
Play everybody every other year. It's great.
Yeah, you don't have – again, I know we've used this example 1,000 times. You went to Lexington in 2007. You didn't return until 2021.
Yeah.
Think about that. 3.5 full recruiting classes that never visited a place in the same conference.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for COVID, you still would not have gone to Como yet to play Missouri.
True.
The only reason you've been once is because of COVID, and they changed the schedule. They entered the league in what, 2012?
Mm-hmm.
That can't happen.
No.
That makes no sense. You're in the same conference. You have played, like if you're LSU, I think of the teams you've probably played more than you've played some of the teams in your conference. Like there's some non-conference opponents that you've probably played more than teams like Kentucky or South Carolina or Vanderbilt, whatever the rotation has
Florida
been.
State, you're about to play back-to-back years. Like any home and home with any team that you've done, you've probably played more than some of the teams in conference for sure.
Yeah, that can't happen. That makes no sense. The balance in the schedule needs to change. The permanent opponents is going to be fascinating as well. We know that. We've laid it out. But at least if you have 9 games in that rotation, you do play every team every other year. So you can run away from them, but just for a short period of time, not like it's been with the imbalanced schedule. So the permanent opponents is key here, but it doesn't matter if you don't get to 9 games.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, the permanent opponents is also lessened when you play everybody every other year.
Yeah.
Bart Schmolke in the chat says, 8 games, result of ESPN not wanting to pay more money for the extra SEC games. John DeLon says, well, 9 conference games in 2024, saying he's just saying he might go with 8 to juice more money out of the TV contract. I don't think y'all are off base in saying that, and that the SEC is basically asking ESPN to have good faith negotiations to pay them more money for being like, look, we're adding Texas, Oklahoma, we're adding games. Like, you need to add money to the deal. This is coming at a time when ESPN is laying off workers by the thousands.
7,000.
Disney as a whole, right? This comes at a time when they are very clearly, Bob Iger's back in charge, and he's saying, look, we're not buying right now. Not rights, okay? Pac-12, you're dead. Like, we don't want you. Probably signed a death warrant of the Pac-12 as Pete Thamel now has official reports, Jake, that Oregon and Washington want to get into the Big Ten, which means Colorado, Arizona State. Who's the fourth of the 4 corners? Utah. Probably looking at something like the Big 12.
Yeah.
Right, so you're seeing the dissolution happen between your eyes. But I guess my point is ESPN may not come back to the negotiating table. Like, they may not want to add right now. I still think it would be the height of stupidity for the SEC to, because of that, stay at 8 SEC games. It makes the product worse. Will you lose some money in the short term because you won't get what you deserve for going 9? Maybe so, right? But the same way that Mike Slive willingly lost money making that CBS deal back in the day to put the SEC on prime time. You know, a little you lose a little money to gain in other areas. You will gain in other areas if you go to 9 games. So it just has to happen.
I don't think there's any way around 9 games. I know there's maybe even some coaches that, no, you got to go to 9. 9's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
You're adding 2 more teams. You have to add more conference games.
Yeah. I agree. Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.